Hello everybody and welcome to Yinlicious. My name is Mychal and this class is brought to you by myself as well as Interdimension TV, an online yoga and meditation platform. Please click on the subscribe button down below and also click on the link to start a 10-day free trial at interdimensiontv.com. I hope you enjoy the class and enjoy your subscription. There's so many offerings we have on there, and welcome to the community. Welcome everybody to Yinlicious practice here for 20 minutes. We're just gonna restore, regenerate, and get blissed out for the next 20 minutes. That sound good? Right on, awesome. So we're gonna get started off in a lovely supported child's pose today. So you go ahead and lift your seat. You're gonna set your blocks up perpendicular to your mat. You'll have about a foot space between your top block and your bottom block. And then you're gonna grab your bolster. You'll place that the long ways in line with your spine. And then you'll scoot your seat all the way up to the bottom of that bolster. Knees can be wide, big toes can come together and connect, and then from here, you're gonna thread your right arm, you're gonna thread your left arm between the blocks. You'll bring your left cheek onto your bolster, and then you'll settle the torso. And hey, sometimes it feels good to give something a hug. So if you're feeling that, give your bolster a little bit of a hug here. And then we'll begin to just breathe and settle. So as you're settling onto your bolster, if you haven't already started to slow down the breath, think about breathing in for 3 to 4 seconds. You can even count your breath here. A micro pause at the top. And then a nice elongated exhale. If it helps to kind of anchor in the mind, you can use the counting of the breath as one way to do so. So counting the inhales for 1, 2, 3, 4, a micro pause, and then exhaling for 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. If that helps, you'll continue counting the breath. If something like repeating a word or a mantra helps, something like relax or let go and be a nice repetitive phrase to continue telling yourself at the bottom of every exhale here. Stay here for a few more breaths before we transition. Letting the upper body get a little bit heavier, letting the facial muscles get a little bit heavier. And then go ahead and lift your left cheek. You'll look and turn your gaze over to the left and place the right cheek onto your bolster. And then again, committing back to your breath. Filling up the back space of the body, the lower back, the middle back, even slightly into the upper back as you breathe in, belly pressing against the bolster, and then emptying everything out like your body was just deflating the air out. We'll be here for about another 8 breaths. start to lengthen the amount of time on the retention with your inhale. Holding it for a second, maybe two. Lengthening the exhale out a little bit longer here. Ujjayi breath if that feels safe for you. Take a few more deep breaths here. And take another full inhale. Another full exhale. And very slowly, you'll start to uncross the arms. You'll plant the palms down. You'll push into the palms and the torso to an upright position. Was it hard for you to let go of that? Yeah, I bet. You're going to go ahead and slide your bolster off to the side. You'll keep that nearby towards the middle of your mat, and you'll bring your 2 blocks to the front of your mat. From here, we'll meet in a tabletop position. And then go a little bit wider with your tabletop. Send your knees a little further back so the knees aren't directly underneath the hips, but a little further towards the back of your mat. And then you're just gonna start to circle your body out here. That can be clockwise, that can be counterclockwise. You can close the eyes here and get as creative as you would like to, just kind of feeling into the hips, feeling into the shoulders, syncing your breath with the movement in any rhythm that feels acceptable. And then go ahead and reverse whatever motion you're doing. Turn that into a figure 4. Any type of direction that you're feeling called to do here. No wrong or right way to move. And then come back to center, come back to stillness. You'll crawl the knees ahead underneath the hips. And we'll move through some cat-cows here, taking an inhale, arching the pelvis, softening the shoulders, and then emptying the breath, hollowing in the belly, pulling the navel through the spine. Inhaling and exhaling. Again, inhaling and exhaling. A few more rounds here, breathing in, finding a little more articulation in the spine, breathing out, finding a little more rounding in the spine. Let the head be heavy. Take one more full round here. Inhale and exhale. Get completely empty of your breath. Next inhale, return back to a flat back. Pause there, but keep your breath moving. And from here, you're gonna bring your left hand a little bit wider to the left, about a hand space. Using the hands, you're gonna shift your upper body and torso to the center of the hand, so slightly to the left. You'll bend the right knee, and then you'll hover the right knee off of the floor. Push the chest far away from the floor, and then we're gonna start to make a small circular motion in the hip here. Breath still moving. Chin slightly tucked, back of the head pressing towards the sky, ever so slightly. Go ahead and reverse that direction. One more circular motion here, and then softly plant the right knee down. Slide the left hand underneath the left shoulder. From here, we're going to transition into a sleeping swan. So you'll go ahead and just step the hands ahead. You'll bring your right leg and knee towards the top right corner of your mat. You'll send your left leg long towards the back of your room, left toes pointed straight back. You can use one of your blocks here. If you notice that there's some space from the outer hip to the floor, you can slide a block there for a little bit of support. And then go ahead and grab your bolster and bring that towards the top of your mat. And have that in line with your spine. With the arms straight here, you'll take an inhale, find some length. And then as you exhale, start to fold forwards and down. You can bring the left or the right cheek, or maybe even the forehead down to your bolster. And then eventually you'll completely rest all of your weight of the upper body onto that bolster. You can reach the fingertips and the arms out ahead. And start to settle into your breath here. Let the breath have this widening quality. So you feel the right hip widen to the right, you feel the left hip widen to the left, you even feel the lower back inflating towards the sky. With every exhale, let the hips sink down a little bit deeper. Feel like you could let go of any extracurricular tension that's being held in the body. From the tips of the toes, all the way up the spine, through the fingertips, the space of the forehead, the cheek softening down the side of the face, the hinge of the jaw unclenching. Again, and maybe for your mind, you're using that anchor of just slowing the breath down. We'll be here for a few more breaths, or you're using that anchor of counting your breath here, or repeating that phrase of letting go or soften. Whatever helps you kind of just anchor back and recenter and pull yourself back into the present moment. And take one more full inhale, and take one more full exhale. You'll slowly start to slide the hands in, flatten into the palms and pushing into the palms. You'll lengthen the spine long. You'll slide your left foot and knee ahead, and then you'll bring your right knee back, coming into a tabletop position. You can keep your bolster where it is. You'll take an inhale, arch, and take an exhale, round. Flat back on the inhale, continue moving your breath, sliding the right hand just a little bit out to the right, pulling your torso between both hands, bending in the left knee, and then starting to circle in the hips here. Breath still moving. And then reverse that direction. Core lightly engaged. And then softly go ahead and set the left knee down, slide the right hand back in underneath your right shoulder, and then you'll go ahead and crawl your left knee to the left side of your mat top corner, and then we'll set up in Sleeping Swan with the left leg ahead. You'll elongate through the right leg and the right toes. Again, if the left hip has some space between the floor, you'll slide that block on the outer edge of your thigh. Push into the palms, lengthen, breathe in. And then exhale, start to soften the torso and the body down towards your bolster, down towards the floor. If you had your forehead down and that was comfortable for you there, you can come back to that. If you were looking towards the right on that first side, you'll turn the gaze to the opposite side here. And then just taking time to settle into your breath. Letting the upper body get a little heavier and just feeling the support of the bolster here. Trying to stay as present as you can with every single breath that comes in, every single breath that comes out. And if you're a human being, or if you're like me at all, and in some yin practices, I tend to drift away a little bit, and I think about my schedule or what I've got to do later. I go through checklists, and I've been better about reminding myself when I realize that I'm doing that to snap out of it and come back onto my breath. I'll worry about that later. It can be very difficult sometimes, but it's a practice, and that's why you come to your mat as often as you do so that you can get a little bit better at refining that, noticing when the mind is starting to drift and wander. You're just kindly reminding it to pull right back into the present moment. And that's another beautiful thing about the breath, is by placing your attention and your awareness onto your breath, it brings you back into the present moment, because you're not thinking about what you've got to do later. You're not thinking about what you did yesterday or what you could have done better. You're just focused on where you're at in your body right now in the moment. Be here for about another 6 breaths. To think of a yin practice as a way to sharpen my skill of attention and focus and awareness, and letting the physical benefits kind of be the byproduct of that. More mobility, more flexibility, a calmer mind. Take your last breath in here, and take your last breath out. Very slowly start to slide the hands back in, lengthening in the arms. Take an inhale and take an exhale. From here, you'll crawl your right knee ahead. You'll send your left leg back into a tabletop position here, taking a full round of cat and cow, taking an inhale. Taking an exhale, inhaling to a flat back, and then pausing and settling for the exhale. We'll go ahead and sink the hips back, and then we'll set up for our final resting pose here. So go ahead and grab your 2 blocks. You're going to set those at the top of your mat. You'll have those at the highest height, about a half a foot between the space of those 2 blocks. You're going to grab your bolster, and then you'll set your bolster atop of the blocks here. And then you're going to come to bring your left hip almost about in line with the block, and then you'll use the hands to help pivot your torso and the legs over the block, so the calves or the lower portion of the Achilles resting there, and then come onto the elbows. Be gentle with the head and the neck. Keep a slight tuck of the chin as you roll yourself down and back. Take a moment to lift the shoulder blades off the floor, and then using your mat and the floor to pin them retracted and down. Bring the palms to face the sky, opening up the chest. And if you've got the space, take up a little more space with the arms here. And then once you land and settle, start to let go of any control over your breath. Letting the breath just kind of naturally do its thing here. you've got some extra time here to hang out and support, I highly recommend it, especially being in this position with the legs a little more elevated. And especially if you're on your feet all day, helping to kind of drain some fluids and blood down and away from the feet. So if you've got the time to hang out here a little bit longer, do so. If you happen to fall asleep, you'll wake up when the time's right. Otherwise, thank you for practicing. Until next time, namaste.